Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for your time to join the webinar today. It's a good one. It's one that I'm really excited about, and we're really going to talk about how everyone can improve. Everyone can improve product and service levels with VMS portal, and more importantly, automation. This is a mini series that I'm running, just based around automation as a whole. You may have caught the last one around Herefish and some of our automation possibilities. Now, this session is going to be all around VMS or portals, as you may know them, and how we can gain some efficiency with automation there as well. And then there's another one coming up, which I'm sure you'll hear about very soon. Moving in, just a way of introductions. Today, I'm joined by a couple of people. So myself, I'm Ben Carter. I'm the Sales and Strategy Director for onboarding, for VMS and for automation here at Bullhorn. And today I'm joined by one of my esteemed colleagues over who's dialed in from Florida. So it's an early morning for him. Mark, do you want to drop yourself an introduction?
Hey, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Mark Hummel. I am our Director of Sales and Strategy for VMS Automation. I've been with the organization actually since back when it was previously known as Fire. Came over to Bullhorn in 2017. So happy to be joining you guys this morning. Looking forward to diving into the content.
Yeah, that's great. Mark's going to be taking us through a lot of background information around VMS and how a lot of our customers are seeing great success there. And also we're going to be talking about some new technology that was released earlier this month. Also joined with us today is one of the great solutions consultants from the UK team. Jeremy, would you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Hi, guys. Jeremy Lee here. I'm a principal solutions consultant at Bullhorn. So I'm typically out there helping you through, the product selection process of your new recruitment platform or other additional products like VMS Sync. So yeah, really excited to be taking you through the product demonstration part of the webinar today.
Perfect. Thanks, Jeremy. So Jazz, if you just want to move on to the next slide, just as a bit of a highlight. So what we're going to be going through in today's session, it's going to take about 40 minutes or so. Again, we do encourage questions. Please ask questions down in the navigation panel. But starting off with, we're just going to talk about the current climate just very quickly and just where we are at the moment and what we're seeing. What we're seeing as a renewed focus from our customers and from this industry as a whole at the moment. We will be talking around navigating VMS, so what it's like to be out there, what the industry is like in both global and more locally regional, and sort of trend that we're seeing at the moment with a lot of the big enterprise and MSP-sized customers out there that push a lot of new agencies through portals. Then we're going to talk about the exciting one. So that's really the new technology that we've got around submittals and how we can now close that loop by staying inside Bullhorn. So basically, you never have to leave Bullhorn to submit a candidate to a VMS job. Then Jeremy's going to take us through that as a live product demonstration. Then at the very end, we will open that up to any questions. But don't feel you have to wait till the end. Please do drop questions in as we go, and we'll make sure we get to them at the end. So current climate. Jeremy, if you just want to click through. So how is COVID actually changing the industry? So what we're really seeing a renewed focus on 3 different aspects at the moment. I covered this off in the last webinar, but for those of you that may not have joined it, we're really seeing a renewed focus on relationships. So this is about making sure that you're building and maintaining a really strong connection with not only your teams while you're working remotely, but in terms of making sure you're keeping in touch with your clients, making sure that whether that's your candidates that you know and you regularly use today, or whether it's influx of candidates that you're probably seeing through applications that those relationships.
Ben, can you still hear us? I think we're breaking up a little bit there.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we got you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm dialed in on a phone, so hopefully the signal's staying as strong as possible. Just going back to point 2 around efficiency. So embracing in new technology at this time and seeing if there's any way we can help reduce cost and improve productivity throughout your technology stack at the moment. And this is certainly one that I think resonates with that. Thirdly is around adaptation. So being agile in a quick and changing economic landscape, but it's more about to maintain your business and make sure that when that snapback does come back, that you are adapted and you're ready to snap back with the industry, really. I just wanted to bring these up. These are three consistent things that we are seeing at the moment from a renewed focus in our customer base. So I just wanted to highlight it. But Jeremy, if you want to jump in. So one of the other things that we saw, so we did a survey across all of our global customers towards the end of last year. It's called Global Recruitment Insights and Data. We call it GRID. The output of that was we really did see the top two answers to a specific question as to be really focused and really aligned with what we're going to be covering off today as well. So number one, so the question there was, what are the top operational challenges for 2020? And yeah, the number one focus there was around digital transformation. And as much as it may have slowed slightly with the downturn that we're seeing at the moment, it's probably not slowed in terms of focus of that or in terms of that still being a strategy for your business. It may just be slightly delayed in terms of when you're going to actually implement that. But the second top answer there was also around pricing pressure, and something that a lot of you are seeing in operational challenges. And when it comes to pricing, when you're delivering back to your customers, one of the true things we do see here is a lot of these VMS jobs are traditionally lower price, lower margin, and traditionally a lot of people would have avoided working through a VMS portal with the client and potentially trying to work around it. So hopefully what you'll see today in this webinar and the technology that we can show you now will actually open up your eyes as to how easy it can be to work with some of these VMS clients and utilizing the system and automation to see a lot of success there. So I just wanted to highlight this one as well. But moving in, so let's get Mark on now to talk about some VMS for a bit. So Jeremy, if you just want to click on that. So Mark, could you take us through an overview of what you call VMS, what we call portals? Could you just take us through an overview as to the sort of industry that you're seeing at the moment that is driving towards this way?
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy, if you want to click into the next one, I think the biggest feedback that we continue to get is that navigating this industry can be somewhat complex, right? Our customers, especially as we look at, across the globe, some more internationally focused with the EMEA teams, now the APAC teams, UK and I especially, we're starting to see an adoption of this MSP VMS model for most of your largest customers. So chances are, if you're working with anybody in the Fortune 1000, certainly you're starting to see this type of environment come across, but even our mid-sized customer relationships, so our clients, mid-sized mom and pop, relationships that they had that was direct in the past is starting to be, coddled and pursued by these managed service providers like TapFin, like Kelly OCG, to bring them into their MSP team to be able to, as Ben pointed out earlier, provide some pricing pressures, lower the cost for, in this example, Microsoft, to be able to get these requisitions filled. So I'm sure you guys are all pretty familiar with this landscape, but what we're seeing now, obviously, we are end clients, somebody like a Microsoft, pushing all of their jobs and contingent spend really through Kelly OCG. Kelly OCG's two major objectives are certainly to provide quality candidates from a diverse vendor supplier pool, but also to drive down the cost and bring up the efficiency of that process. So a lot of what they're driving can feel like a detractor to our clients, but in reality, when we look at this industry, it just means we need to approach it a different way to see different success and bring those margins back to fruition. So Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next one here. As we look at the VMS market as a whole, one thing that can be certainly said is it's not going away anytime soon. The market continues to grow, certainly in size, but also somewhat in complexity as we see these MSPs, fighting for business amongst each other on a pretty regular basis. So the big thing here, if we look at North America, is growing at the slowest clip to date, but so much of the North American market is already saturated by VMS. And I bring that up only to say that really North America has provided a good benchmark for what EMEA, for what UK and I can all anticipate coming down the line in the future. This market will continue to grow, as you can see EMEA growing at 14% year over year, which means that we have to find a different adaptation for how we work within that business model. And Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next one, we'll talk about, just give you one more visual here to show you kind of the trend of this within EMEA specifically in UK and I. We look at from 2015 how this has been steadily growing, this market, starting at a $31 billion penetration rate, so $31 billion annually going through a VMS system, to what we project in 2019 being coming out being somewhere in the 58 to 62 billion dollar region. So it's really not a strategy you can have to actively ignore requisitions coming through a VMS system, because so much business is continuing to flow through there, and so many blue chip clients are continuing to flow through there as well. Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next here. And so what does this mean? How do we actually leverage this to our advantage? And I think that one of the big things that we look at when we look at how we're interacting with these MSPs is they've now become that middle layer. Like it or not, we now have another buyer in this equation that we need to impress to be able to get our candidate through to the hiring manager. But that actually can be a good thing. So if we look at why Kelly OCG puts out this Supplier Excellent Award every year, it's because it gives a view to everyone of which suppliers are performing well against the SLAs and the scorecards. So if you're familiar with these programs, you know that once a year, or maybe even once a quarter, you have scorecards that you guys are having to perform to a specific SLA and review those scorecards with the MSP. Well, if you get on this list, a list like this Kelly OCG one, or a list like the next one, Jeremy, if you want to hit that as well, for TAPFIN here. These lists are not just great for some accolades to have a trophy in your office, but they also mean that the next time that one of these MSPs goes to win a new program, so since they're consistently fighting each other to win these programs from each other, when TAPFIN or when Kelly OCG goes out and wins an account from TAPFIN, if you're one of their top suppliers and you fit within that geography and fit that skill set they're looking to hire for this new company, they're often proactively coming to you and giving you an opportunity to play for that business. So instead of boots on the ground and constant, as we always say in North America anyways, the donut drops that you have to do to win new business, you now are just proactively getting new business given to you by your MSP partner when you've performed well within those scorecards. And so, Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next one here, the big piece with this is, while all of these things can work in our favor, we're seeing a lot of clients say that the challenge is that margins are low, so why do we make additional strategic investments in a low margin business? Well, I would argue that margin we see is lower because really the process hasn't been adapted to this efficiency model that we're seeing from the MSPs. So the VMS process today, if you think about it, is incredibly manual. Your team is waiting on a notification from the VMS. They're then passing that from the program manager or the account manager, deciding who works on this order, passing that to the recruiter. Somebody in there hopefully is adding this job to your applicant tracking system. So all of this is manual time wasted figuring out just who does this go to and who needs to start working this. Then you finally get this to the recruiter. They do their job of sourcing, matching this candidate, and then begins the manual process of actually uploading that back to the VMS. So that entire process, very manual, very inefficient. Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next. And this is kind of visually represented here by a survey that we had from our partners over at Interviro a couple of years ago now, actually, that how much time gets wasted on non-revenue generating activities. So especially if we look at the current environment and the need for us to be efficiency, and in some cases, unfortunately for some staffing firms, needing to do more with less, you can't waste any time on non-revenue generating activities. And we found that 42% of the activities when involved with a VMS process are non-revenue generating. And many of these things, which we'll talk about when Jeremy goes to the demo, can actually be automated. I'm gonna jump to the next one here, Jeremy. And on top of the fact that we have a lot of manual work there, we also have the flip side of this, where if we don't have the manual activity happening, we have records not being updated in real time within your applicant tracking system. So a staggering 42% of people who are surveyed for this say that they, 42% said they do update. The rest said they do not update this in real time as this data comes through. So that the accuracy of their reporting is a challenge here. When we look at data cleanliness and you're building, most of our clients are putting very much needed resources into actually building out reporting structures, and they're doing it all off of bad data or stale data. So the big piece here is you need to not only get the jobs in on time, get the updates in on time so that you have real timestamp data, but you also need to do it without wasting that manual intervention. Jeremy, you want to jump to the next one here? And so that's what we are very excited about, actually, as of a couple weeks ago to announce, is that not only have you probably already known that we automate the front end of this journey, and this is all stuff that Jeremy will walk through in the demo, but we automate the grabbing of that requisition from the vendor management system, from Fieldglass, from Beeline, from Taleo, from over 95 other VMSs. But now we also, as of a few weeks ago, have the ability to submit these candidates from within your Bullhorn system back to Fieldglass and Beeline systems. So for those VMSs, you don't have to log into Fieldglass, you don't have to log into Beeline. You can actually just from within your ATS submit that candidate, and we automatically tag that activity and automatically tag the activity that follows as that candidate goes to the journey. So you'll get a chance to see what that actually looks like in the demo today, but huge efficiency gains here. Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next one. Because now that process starts to look like this, where the entirety of this process turns into a green automated arrow, with the exception of the recruiter having to do, their search, their match, and their outreach to these candidates. But as Ben will mention in a couple of these pieces too, we have some great tools to help bring some efficiency to that as well. But now you're automatically getting the job. We're automatically putting it right in the desk of the person that needs to work it. All of that's being logged in the applicant tracking system. And then we're also submitting the candidate back from within the applicant tracking system and logging all that data as well. Jeremy, if you want to jump to the next one here. And so just to kind of put that in perspective of, some of our earlier beta clients who have already been using the submittals tool for well over 6 months now and put thousands of submissions through the tool. So we have rigorously tested that. They've said, as an adopter of the VMS sync tool, being able to utilize that on the front end, bringing these jobs was already a huge bonus for them. But when we added submittals to that, the amount of manual activity that took out, as you can see here in the quote, just put that into hyperdrive. So gave the Jacobson Group and Jennifer Shore and team the ability to focus a lot more of their time on the relationships that Ben was mentioning earlier, versus having to spend so much time on the manual effort. You hit that next one, Jeremy.
Yeah, perfect, Mark. Just checking you can still hear me.
Yeah, we got you, Ben.
Yeah, perfect, no worries. Yeah, so just taking over from Mark there for a second. So let's talk around how the technology actually works with Bullhorn. So there's really 3 sides to the way the VMS Sync and Bullhorn interacts. So if we just start from the top, we've got a very, very, very patented contextualization engine that sits in the background here. And what that really means for you is that we can point the VMS Sync tool to a lot of these VMS portals out there, and we do that on an API kind of layer. And what the contextualization engine does is it auto recognizes a very high percentage of the fields that are in these VMSs. So regardless as to how their data is structured, what their data is labeled with, our contextualization engine will go there and be able to grab and recognize that data to actually speed up the process and get you live on this platform quickly. What's really more important about this for you is that means that once we connect, let's say an instance of Beeline for you into this engine to feed down to Bullhorn, it means that as and when you pick up more clients that are using Beeline, adding those portals, there is no reliance on us. You can go and add those portals yourself, put in those credentials, and the system will go and auto discover that next customer's Beeline instance for you, or MSP, I should say. So the contextualization engine there, absolutely, we've patented it, and it's an incredible piece of technology to go and auto discover all of these different databases. From a normalization standpoint, if we just look at the graphic for a moment, what we're really seeing is the 3 different VMS portals on the left-hand side. You'll see that everything's labeled slightly differently. Everyone does everything in their own way. From a normalization standpoint, we'll make sure that by the time it gets to Bullhorn, it's consistent data for you. So whether you call it a role or you call it a job or you call it anything else, we're going to make sure that that's going to get synchronized into title for you, for example. And any other nuances that a client may have, we'll always standardize that so that your users in Bullhorn will always have a consistent experience. And then lastly, we've got a really super powerful rules engine, which fundamentally means regardless as to what the job is, our rules engine can get it to the right person to work immediately. Now, a couple of examples, it could be this client equals this team or this person. So we'll always standardize and map that across. And it could even be something more complex, like if the postcode contains a 3 and the company contains an X, it goes to a specific user or a specific group or branch. We can do that as well. Super powerful rules engine. Jez, if we just want to click onto the next slide. Now, with the way that we are actually bringing automation and giving it to the hands of our users, actually, if there's any Herefish customers out there, you can do a lot of this, a lot of the rules engine part of this actually using your Herefish. That puts you in control of these rules in a much more granular level and gives you the ability to adjust these on the fly as and when you need to. So just wanted to cover off that Herefish can do a lot of that heavy lifting already. So with that, I think we're going to jump into a demo. Jeremy, if you're good to go, I will hand the reins over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Okay, demonstration time. So today I'll be taking you guys through the end-to-end process of fulfilling a VMS requisition using VMS Sync. So effectively, this will involve receiving the job from a client portal, finding suitable candidates, and then submitting them back to the client. So the difference is here really is that this will all be done in Bullhorn. So let's get started. So what I've got open here at the moment is Beeline, and this is the login that the client would normally go into to submit a requisition down. So just to be clear, we've got this all connected today. It's on a developer version of Beeline, however, so just the submissions may be a bit slower, but we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty confident that'll be fine. So I'm a consultant, and one of my clients provides requisitions to us through Beeline. In the past, before we had VMS Sync, for any new requisitions coming down, I'd normally receive an email from Beeline notifying me of a new job. So similar to what Mark was showing before, I'd then proceed to open up the relevant client portal, have to remember my password, of course, because there's so many portals that I use, and then I'd need to jump into the job. And once I've got that job open, familiarize myself with what I'm seeing on screen, got the requirements, then I'd jump back into Bullhorn. I'd have to create the job, or I probably should create the job, copy and paste the information across to the right fields, and only then can I start doing my search and submitting. Okay, so let's keep this really simple. I'm here in Outlook. I get a notification that a new VMS job has come in via email. And then from here, what I can do is I've got a link to my job in Bullhorn. So as being covered a bit before, the requisition is now in Bullhorn. All the relevant fields have been mapped and normalized where required, and the job itself has been correctly routed to me. So from my perspective as a consultant, you can see the experience of working this job is a lot more consistent. Whatever portal we're using, I'm just working the same job within Bullhorn here. And also on top of that, I'll get notifications of all the updates to the job, whether it's a status change or common comments made. And most importantly, this has put me in a position to be able to respond at speed to the job itself. Now, interestingly here, this job looks like it's already had a submission. So if I just jump to shortlist here, let me quickly have a look at this. Okay, so you'll see here that actually we've already submitted a candidate through. However, they've been rejected by the client here. So this is another example of the visibility I'm able to get in Bullhorn about not only the job, but also the submissions that we've made as well. Okay, so submitting a candidate to this job is really straightforward now and really fast. So if I already have a candidate in mind, I can click actions here and scroll down to submit to VMS. In that case, I can quickly submit a candidate straight off to the VMS there. However, in this particular case, I'm going to have a search for candidates on our database. And you can see here that we've got some really good candidates coming back. So we've done a search. You can see here, I've got James Pringle up the top here as a really good match. He's got a strong score, solid CV, And also you can see that we've actually been engaging with him a lot as well through Hairfish. So he's one of the ones that I'm going to be submitting today. Now, in terms of speed, I don't even need to shortlist him to the job here. I'm actually able to go straight back to the job, click actions, and submit him. Right, so we'll get a notification coming up. I can enter James's name, select James, and click create. And you'll notice that we also flag the fact that he already exists in Beeline, and so we've already submitted him before. So I've got the choice here if I want to confirm the match or skip it and create a new submission for James there as well. So I'm going to confirm that he's already been added in there. And now what VMS has done is, VMS Sync has done is it's retrieved the exact information that I need to provide to the client portal that we are submitting to. So not only that, we're also able to map whatever fields you want from the candidate or job entities right across into your submission form. So what that means is that I don't need to do as much copy and pasting of information across. If we've already got the information in Bullhorn, we can pull this across automatically. In fact, if I really wanted to get this across quickly, what I could do here is actually just show the required fields. So all I need to do is enter in the information that I actually need to push across to get that submitted across as well. So the first thing that we want to do here is have a look at the submission form that we've got in front of us. It's been designed to provide me as a consultant access to all the information I need to submit this candidate for without leaving the form. So you can see up the top here, we've got job and candidate. I'm able to click on these slide outs and get access to the relevant information to help me create the submission form down below. So as we go down, let me enter in a few pieces of information here. You can see all the fields that are presented here have been pulled directly from Beeline. The first thing I'm going to do is add attachments. So from here, what I'm presented with are attachments from the candidate's record. But what do I want to submit? Oh, I want to submit the CV here, but I want to make sure that I've actually submitting the right CV that we're going to submit. So here, I'm going to select James's formatted CV here. And also, as you can see, I've got the ability and options to select and add other attachments as needed too. If I scroll down, I can fill out some other additional fields as well, based on what Beeline has asked me to do. Enter in a rate, as well as a source here. So I've also got supply comments on top of that. Mark likes to call that the sizzle, but effectively what this means is that this is your chance to really sell in the candidate to the client here. And as we mentioned before, you're able to pull open the candidate slide out to help you complete that information as you go down and fill out the form too. As we scroll down before I submit, you'll notice here that there's a section for Bullhorn fields. This effectively allows you to add additional information that doesn't go to Beeline, but is going to help improve your data integrity and track what's been happening in the system as well with your submission there. Okay, so I've completed that. What I can do now is click submit. Okay, so what have we done here so far? So in this really short space of time, we've received a job from a client into Bullhorn directly, found some quality candidates, and now submitted one of them back to the client's VMS, all from within Bullhorn. So what you're seeing on screen at the moment are the actions that we've automated for the consultant through the submittal process. So normally, if you think about it, we're uploading the CV and also the attachments. We're creating the candidate if needed. We're creating the application, and then we're linking the candidate to that application. Then we're going to be setting the rates, and then after that, looking to submit it. So also note, I don't have to download the CV and attachments to my desktop in order to re-upload them into the client portal, because we've selected them and we're submitting right from within Bullhorn. That's all going to be pushed straight out to to Beeline. Sorry. Excellent. So now that we've got the submitted successful, I can either submit another candidate now straight away, or I can click done here. And what I'm going to do quickly is go to Beeline and quickly refresh, and you'll see that we've got James Pringle he's been now successfully submitted there. And then if I go back to Bullhorn and I refresh, that got me a bit worried. It's definitely there now. You'll see that James Pringle has been added as a shortlist and moved to CVCN automatically from VMS Sync here. And if I just finish up here, going on shortlist history, you'll see that that's how it's been progressed and updated there too. So to kind of wrap things up, guys, we've showed you the job intake. So bringing in a VMS job from Beeline, directing straight away from your Outlook into Bullhorn. All the fields mapped across, as we alluded to before, meaning that all the consultant needs to do is go into Bullhorn itself. They've received the VMS job, it's been routed correctly to them. They then need to find the right candidates to submit back. And by submitting back, we pull out all the forms that you would normally, all the form details that you normally need to submit it back to Beeline. That then gets pushed straight up to Beeline. And then from there on, we're getting updates in real time back from Beeline on how the submission's gone. And that's the end-to-end process of VMS Sync.
Perfect. Yeah, and Jeremy, I think the piece there at the end cannot be overstated enough. As we talk to clients who have been going through the sales process to get submissions added since its release here a couple weeks ago, one of the biggest pieces, especially in our largest clients, that they've said is super important to them is that update of the candidate status post the job actually being submitted to. So as you showed James Pringle, not only did we just update that the candidate submission went through and that activity automatically gets logged into Beeline or into Bullhorn, excuse me, but now when Beeline goes and adds him to a short list on their side, which means Kelly OCG has passed this to the hiring manager, they've now put them on short list, or they request them for an interview, or they place them, or as you saw in Jeremy's early example, they reject them. All of those status updates happen in real time now in your applicant tracking system. So you're able to now see what is the trajectory of this candidate, what's the throughput of this process for this particular client, because everything is time-stamped in real time.
That's amazing. Jeremy, thanks for the demo. Mark, thanks for the additional information there. That's super powerful. Jeremy, if you want to slide this into the next one there. So Q&A. Just to remind everyone, please do drop questions into the question section. So first of all, I do have a couple of questions that are already sitting in here, so I'm gonna hit them straight away just while others start to drop them in. Mark, the first one here I think would really resonate if you can answer this one. What sort of strategies do a lot of our customers put in place around the jobs coming down, as in job orders? Because obviously there's going to be so many jobs available on these VMS platforms, and a lot of people do only cherry pick certain ones if they're doing a manual process. So what kind of strategies do you see in place or put in there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. I'll give you kind of a broad take of what we're seeing. Let's use, again, just North America as a little bit of a benchmark, although we do see it happening a lot more in UK as well now with the penetration of VMS becoming deeper and deeper. We're starting to see a centralization of the recruiting resources that work on these VMS jobs. So if we think about, prior to VMS being a really big thing that affected, 65% of the revenue that came through the North American staffing market, we saw a lot of, if it's this client that's in this geography, then you have an account manager that's in the same geography, and you have a recruiting team that's in that same geography. So your ability to service a client as an organization was really geographically based, whereas now we're starting to see, because of the rise of VMS and the need for efficiency and really driving down costs, that maybe the account manager might be still geographically based. So you might have somebody who's in London who handles a London account, a London-based client, but the recruiting team for that customer is all centrally based. So even though they have several different offices across the UK that would service this client, now the recruiters all sit in one office, or at least in one team. So and certainly we're all virtual right now anyway, but in one team. And what that allows you to do is really drive the efficiency of this job, goes straight to this team knows this client, and they're able to push that requisition back quickly. And we also see that there's some cost benefits to doing that as well. So when we have a recruiting team that's centrally based, it's really around VMS business, we see that it's more of a speed and volume play. So how many requisitions or how many candidates can I get back to this requisition, and how quickly can I do it? So we're starting to see the cost structure for that team actually change. Instead of being based around, merits being based around gross profit, GP, we're starting to see commissions and plans being based around activities for some of these firms. So getting, spiffs or getting some type of monetary bonus every time they submit a candidate to the system, or every time they get a candidate shortlisted or requested for an interview, which really actually, if you look at the model for how you would, put that into a cost structure, becomes really advantageous for the recruiting firms to be able to pay on that type of kind of upfront and task-based work. So I think that you're going to see some really interesting things. The frontline layer to that, certainly, Ben, to your question, all starts with automation, and then building a strategy on top of that differs you from the rest of your competition.
That's great. Thanks, Mark. Another question here is kind of a two-parter. I guess someone has basically someone's asking, should we just be pulling all these jobs in? But more importantly, what kind of reporting capabilities are there over this data once it's in the system? I guess I can cover off that second section in terms of, yes, Bullhorn Canvas does have the ability to see all of this data, because this is just jobs and submissions at the end of the day, so we can see all that data. And also from your standard dashboards in Bullhorn, there's a lot of just out-the-box cards in the dashboard section that you could filter down to just be VMS specific as well. So there's a lot of great information that you can see just straight out of the box, the same way you would any other job data. Mark, I guess from the other side of this, would you recommend just pull? Is data king at this stage when it comes to pulling VMS jobs in?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm a little bit biased at least from the customers that we've talked to, and from us knowing how the SLA process and the process works with your scorecards for these MSPs. I definitely lean more towards everything should come into the system, but maybe not everything should be seen by your frontline team. So if you by nature don't work the admin clerical type positions, then maybe those come into Bullhorn and they get flagged with some status that doesn't resonate or doesn't show up in searches for your team. But I absolutely feel like when we look at most of the data integrity exercises we've done with our larger clients, that bringing all that data in the system is very important, so that your records match up identically with that of the MSP, which helps you in the scorecard in the end, and it gives you the ability to run some really cool analytics that can help you predict where's the next office we should have. Maybe we're turning down a bunch of recs because we don't have a local office. Well, if we have a full requisition volume sitting in front of us, we can make some judgments on that. Or the same thing, we don't work office clerical, but we see a customer that is regularly putting out office clerical jobs and they're regularly getting filled for decent rates. Maybe that's something that we want to look into, but you can't make any of those decisions without that data.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, just still waiting for more questions to come in. People seem to be a bit more quiet today than usual, but it's all good. Yeah, I guess with 4 minutes remaining, if we don't get any other questions come in, I think we're probably good to wrap. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes. Yeah, okay, so one more just come in here. Can we just recover off what portals are available for VMS Sync?
Yeah, absolutely. So on the front end for the jobs coming into the Bullhorn system, we integrate with over 95 different VMSs, and I would say not only just VMSs there, but also what Ben, what you've referred to as client portals. We see that often being something that's very UK based with like Taleo, Workday, those type of portals. So there's really a small amount that you might work with that we might not cover today within those 95. And then on the submittal side, those first two portals that we've cranked out so far are Beeline and Fieldglass specifically, that allow you to submit the candidate back to them in real time, like Jeremy just showed.
Yeah, I guess we actually need to rely on the ability of the VMS platforms APIs as well, really, don't we? We can't build submittals to everything straight away. Well, just so you know, we are working very closely with as many of them as possible to see where we can get this in the future. But yeah, so it's two portals for submittals at the moment. I've got another question come in. So is this system effective for smaller agencies, say 5 to 10 staff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's no such thing as a firm that's too small for efficiency and automation. When we think about a firm of that size, where we've really seen some huge gains for this type of product, is that often those firms of that size are where they might invest in Bullhorn, but they live with a lot of their process off of Bullhorn. So we're seeing still spreadsheets that are getting grabbed from Fieldglass and downloaded, and then the account managers then pushing that downloaded spreadsheet out to all the recruiters, which not living in Bullhorn is a real shame when you make that investment anyway. So this helps drive that behavior, I would say. And then also, I think you're seeing that if they are properly putting the information in the system, even if it's 5 or 10 requisitions from each client for each month, that's still wasted effort that somebody's having to copy and paste this data from one system to the next. That really, again, you need all the efficiency you can get to squeeze every penny out of that margin that is a slightly smaller margin than direct business.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah, great. One last question, and then I think we no, that's okay. That one I can actually answer offline. That's just a comment saying thank you to a response I gave to someone via chat. I think we're good. We're bang on time. I think that's a good time to wrap. I'd just like to say thanks to Mark for waking up at the crack of dawn today to join this webinar. So Mark, thanks so much for getting up early and sharing your insights with us. Jeremy, thanks a lot for the demo, and yeah, we'll leave you with a parting slide, which I think just means that automation truly is critical at this time, where if you look at the attention span of a human in 2000 versus now, I think it's time to automate, folks. And with that, thank you so much, and we will be sharing this recording to everyone that came on, and I'll be reaching out to people for those questions that I covered off on chat as well. So thank you very much.